This is a curricular elaboration of test-taking tips. Test-taking tips is a broad category that can contain many strategies, therefore making it the epitome. We will be looking at test-taking tips at three parts of a test: the test prep, the test itself, and the post-test. In the test prep, there are specific things a student can do in preparation for the upcoming test. By following these tips, the learner will be more prepared on the day of the test. The learner should take good notes, study, and complete homework. By taking good notes, the student should be sure they are listening and writing all pertinent information about the topic being discussed. They can clarify the notes with the teacher and rewrite the notes with main ideas for quick review. The study part of test prep requires rereading the materials. It is important for the student to study the material that has been covered. Studying takes on many different forms, and the learner must find the strategy to use. By rereading the materials, the student can engage in the process by making connections with the activities and homework that has been assigned rather than just skim the reading. The student can also make note cards by writing a keyword on the front and then an explanation on the back. This technique is especially helpful when learning vocabulary words. The student should also complete homework. Homework is an important part of learning the content. Homework can extend the content learning and lead to better retention. The student should set aside an allotted amount of time to complete homework each day. The student should complete the homework assignment to the best of his or her ability. They should also correct mistakes as the teacher reviews the homework. Homework assignments can be great study tools in preparation for the test. We will move on to the test itself. For the test, reading the questions and the possible answers first is a great strategy. The learner should also be sure to answer all of the questions. By reading the question and answer, the learner can begin to pick out keywords that can help them process the information as well as eliminate incorrect answers. The student should look for keywords within the question and disregard irrelevant information. The student should be asking, what is the question really asking? Many times questions have irrelevant information embedded in them, which can confuse the learner. The student should eliminate those answers that are undoubtedly incorrect. He or she then can focus on the choices left. The learner should be sure to answer all questions and be sure not to skip any. They should look at the greatest point valued questions first and try to answer those. If the student waits until the end of the test to answer the high point valued questions, he or she may be tired and unfocused. The student should also review the test, if time, before turning it in to the teacher. He or she should ensure that all questions are completely answered to the best of his or her ability. The post-test. Taking time to review the test once it has been marked can add to learning and retention of the material. The learner should be sure he or she understands the errors made and has access to the correct answers. It is important for the learner to understand his or her mistakes. The learner can clarify any grading errors with the teacher and make notes on the test for clarity next to any items he or she did not initially understand. The student should be actively participating in the post-test review by listening and correcting answers. As the teacher is reviewing the test, the learner should be listening and asking questions to clarify material that he or she did not understand. The learner should also correct the answers that were initially missed. This will help the learner retain the material for future use. The student should save the test for use when preparing for the cumulative test, as well as to use as a reference. The student can refer back to this test, which will lead to better retention and transfer of the material. The learner should save the test to use as a study guide in preparation for the cumulative test. The post-test can be used for later reference, and by referring to it over time can assist the learner in transferring the knowledge gained into the real world for long-term memory use.